RAHMALAMADINGDONG!
Ramalong.
Welcome into the Dead Arm Sports podcast coming at you after the Masters. We'll have that recap for you. Josh and Jill in the house today. How you doing, Jill?
That was funny. There was an audio delay on the live on YouTube, so I heard us back yelling Ramalama Ding Dong like 5 seconds later. Oh, that was awesome. Oh, what a weekend though.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. I'm excited to get into that, get into your hot take as well on Mr. Ramalama Ding Dong. But before we get into our Masters recap, do have our question of the day today. Haven't done one of these in a while, Gel. It is time to get back to a keep, trade, cut.
Ooh.
So I'm going to give you three things.
Cleaning it up for the episode this time.
Yes. What you're keeping, what you are trading, and what you are just cutting out.
Is this now? Are we talking fantasy? Are we talking like real?
No, this
NFL?
Is just like this.
Like
is
if I'm a GM of a team.
Oh no, it's sports related, but
okay.
It's the overall umbrella of what falls under these three things. And it is the NFL, college football, and Major League Baseball.
Shit.
Figured I'd pick the three that you and I probably watch.
Yeah, that's our top three by far. Oh, you're not nice. I think, golly, I don't want to kill any of these off. I mean, like the easiest, like for me, like baseball is like a 6-month long sport every single day. Like that's what makes me think marry, like long-term and, long-term investment with baseball, given that it's an everyday activity. But also like, I don't want to go without NFL or college. I think the one I'm going to kill off is college. And I also want to do NFL like at the same time, like because I think I like watching college football more, but I like following, I don't know, like following the NFL more, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of a weird one to think about. Oh God, you suck. Yeah, let's go marry baseball, fuck NFL, and kill off college. Although I could go 50, I could go either way on the football piece.
Okay. I ended up going a completely different route. So I am going to keep college football. I love watching college football. It's Saturday. You can get wasted, not have to work the next day.
That's a positive.
Watching college.
Certainly.
Atmosphere is awesome. Going to games. I mean, you can turn on any game and anyone has a chance to win. And I don't know. I just love that product. I'm going to trade NFL because I think that has the most
fuck,
value.
Marry, kill there, didn't I?
Oh, yeah. But
same,
so essentially so you kept MLB, traded NFL, and then cut college football.
Right.
Correct?
Right. Yep. Yeah, I guess.
So, yeah, I'm going to trade NFL just because that's got the most value. I think I could get a lot back in return for trading the NFL. And then, unfortunately, I think baseball is the cut, which sucks. But I don't know. I love college football. And MLB just doesn't have the trade value. I don't think that the NFL does. So looking at it from that aspect of it.
I think that's fair. I mean, that's an impossible question to answer the right way. Like there is no one right answer.
It all sucks.
at least for me, like nothing better than like, a lake weekend at my buddy's place and college football on Saturday and just college football all day. You get down there on Thursday or Friday, you watch college football all day Saturday, you get to watch Pac-12 at night, sitting on the dock, just 15 bush lights deep, like
at least
at least like that's some of the best nights of that I've had down here in Texas. And then NFL, it's just I almost want to flip-flop college and NFL. I think I'm going to kill off NFL. I mean, It does give you a great something to do on Sunday, but as you well know, and all fans know, holy crap, when NFL season ends, your weekends become so much more wide open for you to do other things.
Right.
It's insane. So I think I'm going to kill off the NFL, even though this podcast would not be possible without it.
Right. I know.
No
so
chance.
Three main topics we discuss outside of golf.
Too, yeah.
I didn't know golf either. If we threw golf in there instead of MLB, and then like maybe you put in like playing golf too, like any aspect.
If you have to include playing golf, that's going to make it a lot tougher. Otherwise, I'd say kill off watching, but kill off playing it too.
No.
No.
We can be found at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook at Dead Arm Sports. As Jel alluded to, he was hearing us back on YouTube Live. You can go to YouTube and type in Dead Arm Sports. We've got our live feed going, typically on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. If you go there, subscribe and click the bell. That way you know when our live episodes drop. We monitor that chat. You can ask us any questions there. Otherwise, you can hit us up on our socials at Dead Arm Sports, at DasJel, that's at DASJEL. I can be found at DasJPEC, that's at DASJPEC. And subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite listening platform. Send us a screenshot of your written review, and we will swag you up. Have a absolutely jam-packed episode for you. Got our Masters recap. We're going to kick it off with have a little bit of NFL news and maybe some repercussions from a deal that went down over the weekend. And then we're 2 weeks out from the draft now. So we are going to go ahead and 2.5 weeks start our draft preview. So we're going to kick it off with the wide receivers today, and we'll be back tomorrow with the running backs. But before we get into that draft preview, as I alluded to, and open with the episode, Ramalama Ding Dong indeed. -12 cruises to victory after probably one of, I think, the most impressive wins at the Masters, even though it was a 4-shot victory. It was not close. It's back-to-back years now where the leader has just kind of cruised to victory over that back nine. But what do you think the reason for that is? I mean, is it, my theory on that is this course is so difficult. You have to be so dialed in for 4 straight days. Like, there's maybe only one person in the world over these last 2 years, like over a lot of years, like there's only one person in the world that can stay that dialed in, not screw up, in any major way or multiple holes in a row, and give themselves a chance. I mean, it's so tough that it's like, how do you have legitimate competition? That's why I think we've seen Scotty and Rahm run away with it over these last 2 years. Do you have any other theories or thoughts as to why? It's the only thing that makes sense to me. I think they're just so dialed in, like you said, and then he just limited his mistakes a lot. He opened up with that ridiculous double bogey 4-putt on one. We were in a group message, and I think either you or my brother was like, "Yeah, Rahm's tournament's done." Started off with a double bogey.
That was your brother,
and then that was it. He goes and ends up shooting a low round of the day and just goes bonkers over the next 17 holes. He comes out, doesn't get to finish his round on Friday, has to play in that rain-soaked Saturday morning round, and then comes out.
Nips were loud playing in the rain.
Very loud, yes. And then on Sunday, ends up playing 29 holes. I mean, just an absolute ridiculous stretch from him. He pretty much went through as much adversity as he possibly can in a golf tournament, I feel like. And outside of his tee shot on 18 that had a nice lucky ricochet back just in front of the start of the fairway.
Unbelievable.
But, I mean, even
the announcers are like, did that ball make it back? Because it looked like it was destined for hell.
Yeah.
Like that was straight to Narnia.
It's probably like under a 200-yard drive after it ricochets off of the tree, didn't make the fairway, still pars the hole. That's how dialed in he was from there. So it's just insane. Hats off to him. I know I'll turn it over to you, Jel, because he was one of the golfers you talked about after we made our picks that you weren't taking him because of the way he had been playing, which I don't blame you. Although this is his 4th victory on the season already, but I'll turn it over to you with your take on Jon Rahm.
No, I mean, since he withdrew from the Players, he hadn't been playing well with his little tummy ache. I don't know if he had a few extra doses of Pepto before the rounds or something, but he had not been playing well. I think we overlooked that, or we overvalued that by not picking him, because he is on a Scotty Scheffler 2022 type of run where Scotty won the Phoenix. I think the Masters was his fourth victory last year for Scheffler. It was either his third or fourth. Right.
He won Waste Management, Arnold Palmer, Match Play, and then the Masters.
Then this. So yeah, so both those guys, 4 wins on the season. Not a bad year if the Masters in April is your 4th W on the season already. So I mean, I guess, like, you know, given that we can make that comp right now to Scotty Scheffler's 2022, are we looking at Jon Rahm? And with those live guys gone, there is no Cam Smith competition for this Player of the Year. Is Jon Rahm, has he pretty much already wrapped up PGA Tour Player of the Year at this point? I mean, I know it's obviously, again, it's April and it's not over, but 4 victories and a green jacket, that's like winning a major and a half, basically. So it's not, I mean, I'm probably getting ahead of myself a little bit, but to say that it's wrapped up, but it felt like it was pretty much Scotty's award to lose last year, and he ended up taking the cake.
Yeah.
Or did Smith win it last year? It was Scotty.
Smith won the Open Championship.
No, I know, but
Scotty
Player of
won
the Year.
the Player of the Year.
Yeah, okay.
And then Rory won the Tour Championship over Scotty. Scotty started off with the most strokes in that, but Rory ended up making up ground.
Right.
But yeah, Scotty kind of fell off a little bit after the Masters last year. Not really with his play, but just didn't turn in any other wins the rest of the season. So we'll see if Rahm can maybe capitalize, get another major under his belt. He now has the US Open. He won at Torrey Pines last season and a Masters victory now. So he's chasing his career Grand Slam, just needs the PGA Championship. That'll be next month. And then the British Open or the Open
British
Championship. So
cheerio.
Yeah. You'd mentioned a couple live guys too I wanted to bring up. Brooks Koepka was just on fire until that weekend round, Saturday, Sunday, over par in both of his rounds. So not the greatest showing there from him. And then opposite him on Sunday, Phil Mickelson, a little bit of a revival, shoots 8 under in his final round on Sunday.
Lowest score from any player over 50.
Yep.
That's freaking sweet.
For a nice T2 finish from both of those guys. Yeah, it was fun watching some of these live guys again. And it was cool too, because it really didn't seem to affect anyone. Everyone was out there giving hugs, handshakes after the round. Wasn't really any drama or anything like that. Everybody's just out there wanting to play golf. And I guess I didn't realize how much I had missed watching some of the live golfers is more so what it was. I mean, it was cool seeing them again out there. I still like the PGA Tour, obviously. I'm not really going to turn into a live tournament, I don't think, at any point.
Can you even find the CW on your guide?
I haven't looked, to be honest, but no, it was cool. We'll get to see them again with the rest of the majors this year, as long as they have qualified for them. So it'll be kind of cool. And down the road, who knows, if live sticks around, maybe we have some sort of Ryder Cup style format between the 2 leagues and can kind of go from there. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, outside of missing those guys a ton, which I didn't realize how much I missed them until, you know, you start seeing the Koepkas. Phil, Koepka, both at T2, like, I mean, it was just cool seeing those guys. I know really the rest of those live guys didn't turn in much of a showing. I mean, Cam Smith was never really in contention. Dustin Johnson, not really so much, but you know, even Patrick Reed, I believe, finished 7 under. I mean, it's like they still, you know, these guys are still good players. But one of the things that I did notice, and this came as a bit of a shock to me, when Phil hit that last putt on 18 to get himself into second place, or maybe that was at the point where he, I don't know, into the top 3, there was like not much of an ovation from those fans. It was more of like your traditional golf clap. And in the past, you would have heard like a massive roar. Like, yeah. I mean, it would have been one of those, you know, on TV sounds like just like because everybody's screaming and cheering so hard. So I did notice that. I guess I'm not surprised by, the people that would attend the Masters would be like, respect, but I'm not really, kind of screw you also for leaving us. Like, so it didn't surprise me, but I noticed it. And that was one of the other things I picked up on. But staying on this topic of LIV, is this more of a Brooks choke job or Rahm just running away with it? Because Brooks was playing really nice through the first couple rounds and just pooped himself Sunday.
Yeah, he wasn't hitting the shots that he was earlier on in the tournament. He wasn't making some of those putts and just, I don't know. It didn't.
Yeah, his putter definitely left him.
Yeah, which you wonder too. I mean, it's been just about a year. I think the Open Championship in July was the last PGA Tour event that these guys had played in, where LIV Golf, it's LIV for a reason. LIV is Roman numeral for 54. They only play 54 holes. Right. I wonder if fatigue kind of got to him too. They're playing the par 3 tournament on Wednesday, which, I mean, that's just fun. They're just out there swinging and have their wives and kids out there and everything like that. But you wonder too if that just kind of wore on him. And then, I mean, who knows too? I mean, no one likes playing golf in the rain and the wet weather and stuff like that. Granted, it is the Masters. It's, if you can only win one tournament in your life, this is the one tournament that you would want.
Danny Willett, shout out, freaking A every year. It's like, wait, somebody doesn't belong.
Right. So I don't know. Rahm didn't really. Again, he played just solid golf this whole time. He didn't turn in any like crazy rounds other than that first one. After that, he just kind of made the shots that he needed to, didn't have any blow up holes or anything like that. But yeah, I would say kind of a little bit of both. It was just Rahm playing really solid, really steady, and no one really making a run to put any pressure on him.
The other thing that I guess last little note here, I mean, I feel like the 54 holes maybe is a bit of an excuse given that Phil had his best round and he's 52. Again, oldest player to win or best finish from a player 50 or older at the Masters. He put in his best round on Sunday. But the other thing about him I noticed, God damn, did he look good? He looked tan. Yeah. He looked skinny. Like that might have been the best shape I've seen him in since maybe his prime. It's crazy. Like I don't know if it's, hey, I got more money, there's less stress in me or what, but he looked tan. He looked good. He looked thin. He looked in shape, and he obviously has the endurance to go play a 72 round tournament over 4 days.
Yep. The other one too that had slimmed down a ton was Bryson. We didn't get to see much of him because he missed the cut, but he's not as big and
still
bulky
sucks
as he
at
used
Augusta.
to be. Yeah, still terrible. Once he called it a par 67 course, it hasn't played the same.
That did not work in his favor.
Nope. Then Tiger Woods with the WD on Saturday. I don't blame him. He hit that awkward second shot on 18 on his Thursday round, where he had 1 foot in the trap, another one up on top of it, trying to make contact with it. And it looked awkward from there. And then with the wet conditions like that, I don't blame him. It doesn't really affect my thoughts on Tiger at all from this. He wasn't in contention, and no sense hurting it further and of not being able to play in any of the other majors this year.
I mean, I think the obvious answer to this is yes, because we want to see Tiger out there, but like, is this worth it for him to come out and have this? I mean, a pretty embarrassing, what was it, Saturday when he went 7 over through 9 or whatever.
Yeah, it was bad.
I mean, is this even worth him coming out and playing? And when it's, I don't know. It's just like, I obviously want to see as much Tiger as possible, and none of this is going to stain his legacy or anything. It's just like that's painful to watch. And him walking back to the cart with his foot issue. It's like, God, it's just disappointing, I guess. I mean, we obviously want to see as much of him as possible, but it just kind of sucks.
Absolutely. For our Masters picks, I did get the victory in our first major of the season, a close 3-2. Victory. I got wins from Koepka, Morikawa, Finau, and Gel got Scotty and Xander to give him 2 victories there. So our next one up will be the PGA Championship next month. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I had written down Shane Lowry was going to be my last pick, and I pivoted last second, went Corey Connors, and Corey Connors was awful. He had I forget which hole it might have been. It's like a ridge that runs down the right side, or like that might be 16. No, 16 is the one with the big lake on the left. I don't know. Big ridge running on like kind of diagonally on the right side of the green. He puts it just short. I think he was going green from on his second or third shot. He puts it short by about 3 feet. So then he has this, awkward little approach that he, little chip that he needs to get it just over the creek onto the green. And he hits the front side of the creek and it just dribbles back in. So he lost 3 or 4 strokes on that hole that he shouldn't, or that he wasn't going for, obviously. It's like, God, you choke job. And then I would have won it if I would have just gone Shane Lowry for my last pick. But of course, the last second pivot never works out.
You big dum-dum.
As you can tell, I'm not salty at all.
No, not at all. Speaking of someone that has been salty this offseason, Lamar Jackson potentially has a new wide receiver. Odell Beckham Jr. signing a 1-year deal with the Baltimore Ravens. We'll see. Had a year off this last year after that torn ACL in the Super Bowl. But bigger question, I think here, Gel, is does he sign there if Lamar isn't coming back? I mean, we saw, was it on Instagram that there was a little FaceTime between the two going on after that deal went down. So it almost seems, at least they're wanting us to think, at least Lamar is, that he was recruiting Odell Beckham Jr. to come to Baltimore. Obviously a nice piece if Lamar is back, but I mean, this means Lamar's back, right?
Well, the tricky part here for me still is that Odell gave the Jets a chance to match and they declined. And with that being said, I mean, it's like Odell doesn't even know if Lamar's going to be there. Now he went for the payday, 15 million guaranteed, up to with an additional 3 million in incentives. Nobody was getting anywhere close to that, I don't think. I mean, I would have bet that he'd be closer to like an 8 to 10, probably an $8 million player. But with Odell telling the Jets, hey, giving the Jets an offer to match, or saying you can match, does Odell even know if Lamar's going to stay around? Because I don't know if he would have given the Jets that opportunity, which makes me think, no, this isn't a done deal yet for Lamar. I mean, it makes total sense. Like, thinking logically, why would Odell sign there if there was no Lamar guarantee and it's Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley throwing in the ball?
With his one touchdown pass or
something like that. Like, yikes. Almost won a playoff game though. But I don't think that this means anything's a guarantee with Lamar, because he got paid probably double what he was worth, in my opinion. And the fact that Odell said, hey, New York, if you want to match, go ahead and I'll go to you, that tells me he doesn't know anything about Lamar. So if you're the Ravens, why would you make this deal? I guess if you're bringing in a rookie quarter, and you don't sign Lamar, I guess, go ahead and get your rookie running or rookie quarterback a legitimate number one. They signed Nelson Aguilar too, so they're trying to make some moves. I think they should still go after like a DeAndre Hopkins and go DeAndre as your one, Rashad Bateman as your two, and then you can fill Odell in that slot. I think that's a pretty sick wide receiver room. Yeah. But I don't know if this necessarily guarantees anything for Lamar, just because that's a lot more money than he was going to get anywhere else. And I think that played a big factor. What are your thoughts here?
The money is what makes me think Lamar is coming back, because if you're Baltimore and you are just kind of moving on from Lamar, you don't have a backup plan right now for that quarterback, which signals to me that, okay, we're going to start kind of a rebuild, or at least like a reboot, maybe not a full on rebuild. But if that's the case, why are you committing almost 15 million guaranteed, 18 million to somebody for 1 year? I mean, that's why to me, it seems like that, or maybe Lamar, it is still a tag, so maybe he'll just come back and play under that tag for the one season in Baltimore.
I think that's
hey, let's
getting
just
a lot more
try
likely.
to do. Yeah. So I don't know. I think right now Lamar will be in a Baltimore uniform this season. I don't know if he's got that deal that he wants, but I think he will be their quarterback this season.
The other thing too, on top of that, I mean, the Ravens have the money now, if they don't sign Lamar, to be shelling out big cash to an Odell type of player. I mean, if you sign Lamar to, what is the tag? Is it the non-exclusive? Is it 33 million or so?
It's somewhere in like the low 30s, I think. Where it
So
would have been in like what,
you should
40s,
still be able to afford Odell at that money. But I mean, there's no chance, I think, that the Ravens are going to be giving out that, a $15 million to an $8 million player coming off an ACL after they already signed Roquan Smith to that massive deal. I don't think that a big deal is coming, and maybe they do the tag for 1 year. Odell, they'd let him walk after this season, and then they'll have another 15 million in money to sign Lamar to a longer term deal after this season if they choose to do so. So I think it's definitely very possible that he sticks around in Baltimore. I just don't think it's going to be under a new deal. I bet it is going to be under that non-exclusive franchise tag for that 33 mil.
Yeah, no, it definitely kind of makes sense. And that's kind of what it's looking like now. We'll should hopefully have some sort of news before the draft comes out. I would think any teams, if they are interested in Lamar, would have to be making some sort of decision before draft night on that, and hopefully have a little bit more clarity in the situation.
Yeah.
Speaking of the draft, it is time for our wide receiver draft preview. So we're going to preview wide receivers that we think should be going at least first, second round, maybe throw a couple other names at you, depending on time-wise, guys that we like that might be going on late day 2 or early day 3 as well. I'll kick it over to you, Jel. So we'll just kind of go each wide receiver. Tell me what you like about them. I've got some stats here I'll throw out at you. And then I was looking for comps as well, too. So I went to NFL.com, had some fun comps. So I'll read those off for you as well.
All right.
Too,
I'm excited for that. I'm going to kick it off with the number 1 wide receiver on my board out of Ohio State, Jackson Smith and Jigba.
The Ohio State.
Thank you for who started that. That had to have been some.
I don't know,
douche,
but they should
like
be
Maurice
shot.
Claret or something. Like, wait, because that's been going on for a while. Yeah. I'm going to kick it off with JSN though. 6'1", 201 pounds, ran a 4.52 40. I don't know if that was in his pro day or at the combine, but that's nice speed, not extremely overwhelming. But he's being viewed, I think, from a lot of teams, even after missing that most of this 2022 season. I think he only played in 1 game, maybe.
It was early
this season. He finished the season with like 5 or 6 catches or something. But so obviously, given that we can't take in the 2022 numbers, let's jump back to 2021, and this is going to include the Rose Bowl. Let's just start with the Rose Bowl. With
that's
Olave,
kind of breakout party.
Olave and Garrett. So that's what I thought, but let me get to that. In the Rose Bowl, no Chris Olave, no Garrett Wilson. He was the clear number 1 option out there. 15 receptions, 3 tutties, 347 yards through the air. That's insane. So that was the first, like you said, that was kind of what I thought was his breakout party.
Was it Nebraska? The Nebraska game?
I would have, that sounds right. Nebraska sucks, so probably. Yep. But even before that, and this is I didn't really notice this because all the hype was around Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, but including that Rose Bowl where he went off, he still finished 2022 with 95 receptions, 1,600 yards, 9 touchdowns, and that's with Olave and Wilson out there. So he still put up number one numbers as the third guy. Now it's Ohio State. They're the ultimate, Ryan Day's the ultimate passing game schemer out there. It seems like all their wide receivers are almost always wide open, but he's got mad talent. And even, not including that Rose Bowl, still 1,250 yards, 80 catches with 2 top 10 or 2 top 15 picks in that wide receiver room. So it's not just the Rose Bowl for him. It was an entire season worth of production.
Yeah, no, he's solid. He is going to be the number one wide receiver off of the board. And again, he didn't play a ton this last year, which whatever, maybe it'll take him a little bit more time in training camp to get acclimated to everything again, get back into game mode and everything. But yeah, his 2021 numbers were ridiculous with him being essentially the number 3 wide receiver. But I mean, that's Ohio State. It's their wide receiver you pretty much the last little bit. So 5-star recruit, big body too for wide receiver, which is nice. So we'll run through. I've got the heights of some of these other guys we're talking about. He's one of the taller ones, at least in the first couple
draft.
rounds.
Yeah, it's crazy,
which is insane. So a lot of
shorter,
speedy
like
guys.
It's not like he's a massive, super tall dude, but well built. I mean, 6'1" to be as
200 pounds.
Yep. Right. That's solid.
Yep. Great route runner, and his NFL.com comp is a Jarvis Landry. So that's where they kind of have him with. I didn't like that as much. But Jarvis has been solid. He's a solid possession guy, which I see Jackson Smith-Njigba being a solid possession guy with upside to have breakaway touchdowns as well. We've seen that at Ohio State back in that 2021 season, which you really didn't see a ton from Jarvis Landry. His were all a lot shorter touchdowns. So not a huge fan of that comp for JSN from NFL.
No, that's not a great comp to me either. I went a lot higher than Jarvis Landry, and I went Larry Fitzgerald.
Okay.
Who knows if he's going to have that type of career? Larry's an automatic, first ballot Hall of Famer. Can't say that JSN is going to be that type of player, but great possession guy and really good down the field. Not overly huge for his downplay, deep ball ability to catch. So I like the Larry Fitzgerald comp. I can't say that he's going to have that type of career, because that's putting insane expectations on somebody and unrealistic expectations. But that type of a player, I think, is pretty legit. Larry's also one of the better pass or run blocking wide receivers that we've had recently. I don't think JSN necessarily has that in his game, but we haven't really, he didn't really have to do much run blocking. A lot of, at least at Ohio State, a lot of their game is, hey, CJ, why don't you throw the ball 50 times? So it's not like he had to do that. I just, that's one of the things that made Larry so special, was just being able to block in the running game as well. Do you have any particular fits where you think that he would end up flourishing best here? I started off with, if Tennessee stays at 11, I think he would be a great compliment to Treylon Burks as your 2 outside guys. I threw in Houston as well. If they go Bryce Young at 2 or Stroud at 3, and you can marry Bryce, one of the best, Bryce or CJ, obviously his college quarterback, in Stroud, or Bryce Young finally having another, I should say finally, but having another amazing wide receiver, young receiver. I threw New England in there just because they need as much skill position help as possible, but hopefully I hope he doesn't go there. Mac Jones, I would hate that.
Yeah.
Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Detroit as a couple other fits if he were to fall a little bit.
Yep. No, I like the Houston one a lot. Granted, they're not going to have their first choice of quarterbacks being in that 2 pick. They might end up with their number 1 quarterback, but they're not going to guarantee that they do that. But if CJ
either
Stroud
of those
were to end up
quarterbacks
falling
though,
there, or
would
Bryce
be great
Young
with him.
Yeah, but I mean, if they end up with CJ Stroud, that would be awesome to pair them up. We saw great success from Jamar Chase getting paired back up with Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. So that rapport will help out a lot. That would get Houston at least a little bit more exciting on offense as well, having that rookie quarterback, rookie wide receiver pairing as well. So yeah, I like Houston, and I think Houston is probably a logical spot for them with where they're picking and what their second pick in the draft. Obviously not going JSN with their number 2 overall pick.
Right. Yeah. The number 12 pick that they got from Cleveland.
Yep. Next 2 guys on the board here, kind of interchangeable. I think for me, it kind of depends on where you look, who has them rated higher. So I'm just going to go with the taller of the 2, and that is Quentin Johnston, Texas Christian University, 6'3", 208, 4-star recruit. So got to see quite a bit of him through their playoff run. Yes, for those of you on YouTube, Jill's going with the Horned Frogs logo there with his hands. 2022 stats, 60 catches, just over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns from Max Duggan. The only issue I have with him, Quentin Johnston looks awesome. We've seen some ugly drops from him at times, which I don't like to see. But I mean, other than that, though, he's solid. He's got a big frame. He's got decent speed. He's a good route runner. So he should be a pretty solid number 1 option. NFL.com comp here, I thought was pretty. I like this one a lot better. It's an Alshon Jeffrey. So I think he's kind of got that similar playing style where he doesn't necessarily have that huge breakaway speed. He can go up and get the ball, and is a good possession guy as well too. So I like that comp from him, and see him going kind of in that middle teen rounds. He's not going to be the first one off of the board, but he should be either the second or third. I'm assuming you'll be bringing up the third one that's kind of interchangeable with him.
Yeah. I mean, 6'4", 215, big dude, ran a 4.49 40, great downfield threat, averaging 18.8 yards per catch. So that's pretty freaking sweet. 4 receptions for 139 yards in the Big 12 championship game. So, big playability, absolutely. But not the most refined route runner. And like you said, has some issues with those hands, which, hey, you're a receiver. You kind of have to have nice hands. So Alshon is a good comp. I went with a non-finished product as my comp because I don't think Quentin Johnston is a finished product. But for any of you Packer fans, or probably some of you Bears fans, might remember Devontae Adams, his rookie year, extremely raw, not a great route runner, and had like 100 drops, it felt like. So I think that he's bigger, taller than Devontae. Devontae comes in only at 6'1". He plays a lot bigger than that. Where the comp to Alshon, yes, the height and size is more applicable, but I hope to see more, I guess more out of Quentin Johnston than we saw out of Alshon. I thought Alshon was actually going to be the best receiver in that draft back in the day, based on his bowl game performance at South Carolina. I believe he caught a Hail Mary that game, and that's when I was like, oh shit, this guy's legit. So I like that comp. I think that also, I think he's raw. He's a great athlete. Yeah. He's big. He's just raw. And if he can fix that route running, and if he can fix those hands, I think he has the potential to be a really high impact player. So that's my comp, a very young rookie year, Devontae Adams. Couple fits here. I mean, again, I'm putting Houston in there, just a big bodied wide receiver, although I'd prefer JSN with Houston. New England, Detroit, another couple. I think Detroit would be a pretty sweet landing spot there. Quentin Johnston, or Amon-Ra, Jamison Williams. That's a sick. And hey, don't forget Marvin Jones. Yeah, buddy, my boy. And then I put Arizona in there as well, for if they were to trade out of 3 to something later in that first round. They're losing. It sounds like they're going to lose DeAndre Hopkins. You can't be running out there Rondale Moore, and who else is out there? Zach Ertz, Trey McBride. They have one other receiver, I believe. I mean, I get probably forgettable because they, sucked so much last year, but I think those are potential fits. I think Detroit is, for their later pick, I believe they're at number 18, would be a pretty ideal fit. Next guy on the board here. I'm assuming are you going Jalen Hyatt as the other interchangeable guy here?
Jordan Addison. So maybe we do have a little.
Well, I think of those two guys as completely different players. Jordan Addison, 5'11", 173, much better possession receiver here. He's able to get open really often. Great route running. He's not the most explosive athlete, but he won the Blitnikoff Award with Pitt for a reason, and it's because he has amazing route running ability, able to get open fast enough, quick enough to be able to create separation. But that route running is what really, I think, makes him as good of a receiver as he is, because, he's just extremely polished. I don't know what his ceiling necessarily is, because you never know with hey, this guy's a smaller, great route runner. Usually they end up pretty solid, but I think he's a very good option as a slot receiver.
Yeah, no, for sure. Just that height worries me a little bit, in the weight too.
That's a small dude.
At his combine's 173. So I thought a fitting comp, the NFL.com comp for him was Tyler Lockett, which, okay, I think he's more of like a Devontae Smith from the Eagles. He's got a similar frame to him, a great route runner, can get open there. So I think he's going to be a solid 1-2 wide receiver. With that, had fantastic stats this last year. Like you mentioned, his stats at Pitt were unbelievable the year before. 100 catches, almost 1,600 yards, 17 touchdowns from Kenny Pickett.
17 touchdowns.
17
wow.
tutties. Yep. And then this last season, once he transferred into USC, 59 catches, 875 yards, 8 touchdowns. Went through a little bit of an injury stretch there in the middle of the season. So that's why the numbers were a little bit down there. But obviously, Caleb Williams, a heck of a quarterback. Kenny Pickett, solid too. So I had 2 nice throwers in college for him. But I see him, and I meant more interchangeable Quentin Johnson, because of them. Either of them are looking like they could be that second wide receiver off of the board.
Okay.
Not similar height wise or anything like that, but just more where I've seen either of them going as the second wide receiver off the board. A lot of mocks are showing him possibly going to the Chargers, which I think would be pretty solid there. They need kind of that possession guy. Keenan is getting older and not reliable anymore. So Jordan Addison would be a really nice player to throw in there for Justin Herbert. So I kind of like that one.
Yeah, that's the one team that I had circled. I put in there Green Bay, Tampa, the Chargers, and Buffalo. If Tampa were to move off, make a draft day move and get off of a Mike Evans type of a player or a Chris Godwin, I think Jordan Addison would fit in pretty nicely there. But and if he were to fall a little bit and Buffalo stays where they're picking at 26, I think that would be a good fit. We talked about Gabe Davis, potential replacements to move Gabe Davis into a more traditional role for his skill set. But the one team I had circled was the Chargers. He kind of, he comes in almost like a Keenan Allen type of player. He could sit right. He would be a great to learn from a similar type of player. Nice possession receiver. Not incredibly. Keenan's not a big dude. He's just able to separate really well because of his route running, and he's athletic enough to make it happen. I actually had my comp. You mentioned Jarvis under JSN. My comp for Jordan Addison is Jarvis Landry. I think that's a little bit more fitting.
It's more fitting.
So a peak Jarvis Landry in today's Chargers offense, that would be exactly what they need. Josh Palmer, they've tried for the last 2-3 years since he came in. Come on, man, come along. We want you to be a legitimate number 3. And when Keenan or Mike Williams inevitably get hurt, can you jump into that 2 slot? He really hasn't been able to do that. I think Jordan Addison would have the ability to do that. So I think he would fit in great with the Chargers.
Mentioned Josh Palmer from the University of Tennessee. Let's talk about one of the receivers in the draft from Tennessee here, and that is Jalen Hyatt. 6 foot, so one of the taller wide receivers that's coming out, which still isn't that great. we're starting to get into now. I think we can agree JSN, Quentin Johnson, Jordan Addison should for sure be first rounders. The next few guys here, they could be late first, early second, depending on team needs and what people think of them there. But Jalen Hyatt, 6 foot, 176. So again, needs to put on a little bit of weight, but 4.4 40. So some pretty solid speed there. Had 67 catches, 1,200 yards, 15 touchdowns from Hendon Hooker this last season at Tennessee. A little bit of that. He was kind of buried a little bit on the depth chart. Cedric Tillman's there, got hurt, and Jalen Hyatt just kind of really stepped up into the spotlight with Tennessee's huge run and wins over Alabama, where Hyatt really shined in that game, had some just ridiculously long touchdowns and just kind of set his the myth and legend of Jalen Hyatt in that game and that Bama victory. But NFL.com has, I kind of like this comp too, is Deshaun Jackson. Jackson, when he came out, was kind of that built very similar, nice breakaway speed, can get open, a deep ball threat. And that's kind of what Jalen Hyatt is. And I think he'll be perfect for one of these teams that's drafting a little bit either later on in the first or early second.
I think that that's a splendid comp. One of the things that I found that was absolutely encouraging for Jalen Hyatt, of amongst all receivers in the nation, his quarterback's QB rating, so that would be Hendon Hooker's QB rating, was the highest amongst any receiver when he was targeted. I hope that makes sense.
Means he can catch the ball
because he can catch. Imagine that, a receiver being able to receive. Yeah, I mean, obviously, awesome deep threats, great speed. I think he had the lowest, at least amongst these top guys, the fastest 40-yard time in his 40-yard dash. So obviously encouraging there. Long arms, tracks the ball well. That's what you need in deep threat. I put Arizona, Houston, New England as fits. Again, if you're Houston at 12, don't take him there. Maybe you can get him early in the second and could be a fit there. Arizona just being a wide receiver needy team, I'm assuming that they move off of DeAndre Hopkins, and they won't really have much of a deep threat. I mean, Rondale Moore, not a deep threat, more of kind of like that gadget type of player. So I think he would fit in well with that offense.
Kansas City needs a wide receiver. Do you see them maybe targeting someone more like a Jalen Hyatt, or do you think they'd be better off doing like a possession guy, like a Jordan Addison or something like that? I don't know that Addison's going to be there.
I don't think Addison wouldn't be there, no.
Up, but do you see more of a possession need in Kansas City, or would Hyatt be kind of that, not as quick as Tyreek Hill, but kind of give that deep ball threat that they've really been lacking the last couple of years that they were hopeful with Mecole Hardman?
I think that's a great fit. Yeah, I mean, they've been trying to get that with Mecole Hardman. They tried it again with Marquez Valdes-Scantling. They must not have watched any tape when he was in Green Bay, if that's what they were thinking. But I think Jalen Hyatt's a good fit there. He's not this, you'd have then two wide receivers with different skill sets that are young in Sky Moore, last year's second round pick, and then this year taking Jalen Hyatt at the end of the first. So I think that's a nice fit as well. My comp here, pretty similar players, Deshaun Jackson, Will Fuller. I mean, Will Fuller just had so many issues with his health and concussions, but when he was on the field, he was very productive, great downfield threat. So that's my comp, but same type of guy as a Deshaun Jackson. I'm going to move over to Boston College's Zay Flowers, 5'9", 182. Pretty short, but we've seen some success with Devontae Smith, so I'm not as concerned about the 5'9". Really quick on his feet, able to make breaks on any routes. He can play outside like Devontae Smith, and even though he doesn't have the height of your typical X or Y receivers, I mean, if you can track the ball and you can get open, doesn't matter if you can play on the outside, which, I think of Addison as he's got a little bit more height, but he fits more as a slot receiver, where Zay Flowers has played on the outside and has shown that even with that 5'9" height, still able to get it done. I think he's an ideal number 2. If you've got a, bigger X receiver on the other side, more of your prototypical 6'2" type of receiver. And then Zay Flowers can be your smaller guy on the other side and still play on the outside. I think that he fits. I think he's another guy that could fit with the Chargers. You could potentially then at that point move Keenan Allen to the slot, and then you could have Zay Flowers on the outside. Minnesota, they could use some additional receiver help, and I've got Cincy in there as well, given that what are they going to do? Are they going to be able to afford? We've talked about this multiple times, afford big extensions for T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. We don't know the status of Joe Mixon. That's certainly up in the air with them reopening up his aggravated assault charge, but we don't know the details on that, so not going to speculate. But if the Bengals want to give extensions to all four of those guys, is that even possible? I'd say probably not. So I think Zay Flowers could be a fit in Cincinnati as well. My comp, I mentioned him like 3 times already. I'm going to go Devontae Smith. I don't think he has necessarily the upside where Devontae Smith was one of the more, he won a Heisman for a reason. Zay Flowers hasn't had that type of production. The downside, though, to that and gambling on such a small receiver is we could be looking at Tavon Austin 2.0. So I think there's, you're taking a risk if you're taking Zay Flowers high just because of that size and playing for a small school in a relatively weaker conference in the ACC. But where Devonta Smith was playing in the SEC, of course, with Alabama. So, yeah, I mean, Max is out at Devontae Smith, could be a bust like Tavon Austin.
Yeah, no, he's definitely one that I like that you said you need to have him as like your wide receiver 2. That's where you'd be comfortable with him. He's not going to be a wide receiver 1 on the team. And if he is, that offense is probably going to struggle a little bit because he needs that big bodied receiver opposite of him. But yeah, he had solid production at Boston College. Phil Jerkovitz was his quarterback, has hurt off and on his last couple of years, but still ended up with almost 80 catches, 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns with Boston College. So pretty solid there. NFL.com's comp was Travis Benjamin, which I'm not really huge on that. I like your Devontae Smith. I kind of reminded me too, like when you were talking up where, you want him paired up with that big wide receiver. Maybe you have in Tennessee, a Treylon Burks, and then you have him come in, Zay Flowers, and it's kind of like your DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett situation where he could be the Tyler Lockett in an offense where he has that breakaway speed on the outside that has smooth routes to get wide open for the quarterback to chuck it up to and come down with some touchdowns there. So I do see upside in there, but like you said, this could be a situation where he's somebody 4 years from now, you're looking back at the 2023 draft and like, oh man, I totally forgot about Zay Flowers and his hype coming into the draft. So
he's risen up a lot. He's from reports, and this is draft rumors. Like every agent is just throwing out bullshit to all these reporters. Every agent wants their guy to be drafted as high as possible. Example A, Drew Rosenhaus saying that Jalen Carter's only going to be taking interviews from teams in the top 10, which I think is extremely short-sighted on Rosenhaus's from his standpoint, given that there may be teams outside the top 10 that want to trade up for him. So I thought that was really short-sighted, but hey, Drew Rosenhaus has gotten his players as much money as any agent in the NFL's history. So I'm good with that, I guess. But you want to do one more? Or do you want to go sleeper mode?
We can do one more because I think this guy is going to be the last one that for sure should fall into that second round. And that's Josh Downs from North Carolina, another small receiver, 5'9", 171, 4.48 speed. So a pretty decent
4.48.
speed there. Shout out to Grand China and Stoughton for that.
I hope they're still open.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are. 2022 stats from Drew May slinging him the rock. Had nice quarterbacks back-to-back slinging him the rock. Had Sam Howell and then go right into Drake May. So had 94 catches, 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns last year. And I think he'll be fine. He needs to get into the right situation. And I wanted to bring this guy up too, Joe, because I just died laughing when the NFL.com comp was Kadarius Tony Baloney. Tony Baloney. So, which, I mean, size-wise, yes, kind of that gadget guy that can do a lot. Again, this is someone that he's not going to be your wide receiver one. You need to pair him up with someone else. So I see a lot of upside for him in that second round. You can have a team that has the right fit for him, can see them having some packages designed for him and can work him into the offense. So I like that he's going to be in the second round. Definitely not first round talent, but could be a solid wide receiver too.
Yeah, I think Tony Baloney is actually a halfway decent comp there. I mean, you mentioned the size, quick off the snap. I think ideally he fits in the slot somewhere. I think that if he's able to develop some sort of deep ball ability, that's when you could see a Tyler Lockett type of a breakout player. If not, you might be looking at a Rondale Moore type, like you said, one of the more gadget guys, smaller receiver. He's got a little bit more size than Rondale Moore. Moore's at 5'7", I believe, which, God, that's teeny tiny, but quick motherfucker. And so I think if Downs can develop some deep ball ability, that's when you can get into the Tyler Lockett territory with him. But again, look at Lockett. Like you mentioned, you've got your typical X receiver in Seattle, the bigger receiver in DK Metcalf, and then Lockett on the other side. If you compare him with a traditional X, then that could be a great fit. I think Indy would be a potential fit with Pittman as your X. Josh Downs is your on the other side. And then again, we mentioned the Tennessee Titans, being on the opposite side of Treylon Burks. So
I like it. Well, I think we have time, Jel, for one each of our sleepers or somebody that's going outside of these top two rounds. Who's someone that you're excited about and want our listeners to know about? Or not, if they're in your fantasy league.
This guy is not, but I am into, out of Stanford, Elijah Higgins, 6'3", 235, big boy. Tight end size, wide receiver mobility, length, size, athleticism, all pretty elite traits. Not the quickest guy given that size, but he does have a great, nice catch radius, able to catch any, pretty much catch any ball that's thrown to him. I think that makes him a great red zone threat. And I'm actually going to comp him with tight end Darren Waller of the New York Giants, if in case you forgot, the New York Giants. Elijah Higgins.
All right. I am going to throw out someone. I brought up his name a little bit earlier on. This is somebody that's going to be going in probably the late third, maybe early fourth. Someone that has talent that I think could have been a late first, early second round pick, and that's Cedric Tillman of Tennessee Volunteers. So he's going to be 23 years old, so a little bit older for a wide receiver coming into the draft. Still not in his prime, still has a lot of years left, but somebody at 6'3", 213 pounds, runs a 4.5, 440, so not going to blow your nips off there, but still some decent speed for a wide receiver. So
thank you.
He had 37 catches, 417 yards, 3 touchdowns in 6 games of action last year. Again, he's somebody that I think really, it sucked that he got hurt because of Tennessee's run last year. I think he would have gotten a lot more exposure there, but somebody that you should definitely know. NFL.com comp to this is a Michael Pittman Jr. So the high upside with him. And again, it's somebody that's going to be going in that third, fourth round. So you're going to have him hopefully have a decent fit there. He's somebody that could probably start off in that wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2 role and potential down the road to be a team's wide receiver 1. So,
yeah, I mean, tons of production last year, even in just those 6 games. Through those 6 games, he was looking like, hey, this guy's a true breakout star. And then unfortunately getting hurt. It is a shame. Hopefully he's able to bounce back off that injury to be awesome. And if he is, then some of these teams, whoever grabs him might be looking at getting a steal. So I like that. That's a good sleeper, especially if he does fall to that third or fourth.
All right, so that will wrap up this episode of Dead Arm Sports. We'll be back tomorrow to preview the running back position, of course, our weekly MLB segment, and then the RBC Heritage. But in the meantime, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Go to YouTube, Dead Arm Sports, into the search bar. Subscribe, click the bell there. That way you know when our live episodes drop. Ask us any questions in that chat. We monitor that throughout our live episodes so we can answer it, or if we think it needs more time to be answered, we'll include that on our next podcast. Otherwise, you can ask us questions at Dead Arm Sports, at DosGel, at DosJPEG. You can find us on all of our socials at those handles. Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite listening platform. Send us a screenshot of your written review, and we will swag you up. What are those platforms, Joe?
Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Pods. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on whatever your chosen listening platform is. Find us on YouTube. Just search Dead Arm Sports, and we'll love you forever.
Yes, we will. All right.
We love you long time.
Happy Wednesday to everyone out there. If you could tell someone you know about the podcast, that would be great. We'll also love you as well if you were to do that. We'll be back with you again tomorrow. Got RBs to go through. I know that's everyone's favorite position, as that rookie running backs have been making an impact, especially for your fantasy lineups the last
Isaiah
few years.
Spiller.
Yep.
Whoa.
We'll get you all caught up and tell you who is the Isaiah Spiller to avoid and who you actually want to target in your drafts, who you think will actually be pretty impactful in the NFL. But that will be tomorrow. So tune in, and Joe, close her out.
Josh, remind me again, who won the Masters?
RAHMALAMADINGDONG!